Welcome everyone, I'm Joshino, and today it is time to channel your inner hatred as I go over the top 5 most hated champions in Paladins. Before I start, I will say this is a pretty light-hearted video and isn't too serious, although feel free to air your individual champion grievances in the comments section below and share your own top 5. I did conduct a bit of an opinion poll on Twitter and Instagram on which champion everyone hated most, which people were more than happy to trash talk their picks, and I think we'll be able to put together a pretty good list here. As always, if you want to see more of my content, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Now, let's dive into the world of pesky, overpowered and downright annoying ladies and gentlemen that have graced the realm as characters in this game in no particular order. First up in the number 1 slot is Skye. Yes, Skye. Her name would indicate peaceful blue panoramas and wisps of calming clouds, but no, she definitely can be a destructive storm with bilges of purple smoke in tow. So why is Skye so hated in the realm, you may very well ask? Well, she has definitely held a spot of hatred for as long as I have known in the history of Paladins since her release. Historically, newer players have fostered the most hatred, as her innate ability to go invisible has more of a benefit the less you know the maps and flank routes, and can then formulate the likelihood of a purple thorn on your side popping out of thin air on any particular route you take on a map. Also, newer players are less likely to invest a few credits into Illuminate, which will pretty much make her visible most of the time, even at lower levels of the card. This is where a point I think quite a few champions in my list will also be slightly hated for, and that is that Skye is quite situational and can be countered by Illuminate and is often picked by a lesser skilled player. There's a reason why Skye rank first pick is a meme to indicate losing a rank match in the drafting screen. From personal experience, good Skye players are usually a needle in the haystack, and usually the ones that are actually good on Skye are on Skye only accounts. However, to turn this all on its head in this hatred roundabout, a sense of literal burning hatred is a debilitate legendary card, which actually can counter out the more tanky champions in the realm and double tank lineups in ranked. There's nothing worse than ulting as a Makoa, expecting no one in their right mind to challenge you, then hearing a hissing sound and suddenly you drop quicker than an Eevee standing still in a Dredge's broadside. I also think the nature of a damage over time, or DOT as they're known, in an ability can especially be frustrating in games. Once contracted, there is no using skill to dodge behind cover and you are stuck with your impending doom. The developers at Evil Mojo actually said they were experimenting with a completely DOT-based champion and decided it was too frustrating to play against. So whilst hated for her gameplay, Skye may still be one of the most popular champions of all time with a cool ninja-esque design and easy to grasp gameplay. Next up in the hate light is Dredge. I think this one goes pretty much without saying, but I'll say it anyway, so where do I start? Dredge has so much going on with him that gets on people's nerves, and even to the point a lot of content creators suggest on release it would be better just kicking him back into the sea to lie at the bottom of the ocean with that abyssal kraken. That's even after all the excitement of a possible pirate champion coming to the realm that was generated with their trailers. So it's time to break down this infernal pillager of people's will to carry on playing against them, Dredge's abilities. First up is Broadside. This ability fires 3 projectiles that each can do 950 damage. In total, that is 2,850 damage. More than most damaged champions' health balls, and will also catch a lot of frontline champions out if they are beat up a little bit already. This can be spammed up to 3 times, and to put this ability into context with the damage, Skye's ultimate ability only does 3,000 damage. Bomb King's ability only does 2,500 damage, and these two are two of the big burst damage ultimates in the game, and sure, both of these also have effects. The Skye deletes shields, the Bomb King one stuns and also deletes shields I guess as well. Plus, in its defense, these do have an explosive indicator and damage fall off alongside a relatively long 2-second fuse time until they actually explode. However, there are some parts of maps, and even in some of the smaller maps like Jaguar Falls, where this can cut off entire flank routes and zones with its infernal explosive spamminess. Plus, standing on the point can become practical hell as you have explosives clumping up everywhere where you want to stand. Part of the frustration is also that the Dredge can sit back and spam these at range at a general area of enemies without even bothering to properly aim, as it's never good to be killed by someone that you don't think deserves to have killed you. The next part of the kit, which is also very frustrating, yet slowly being revised by Evil Mojo Development, is to make less annoying the talent card Scuttle, which makes you reload a 1000 damage explosive that too can be dropped quite willy-nilly on a point or at a group of enemies' feet. The changes have included adding damage drop-off and getting rid of the reload speed card in this deck, but can still be very frustrating to go up against. Finally, good dredges will be dab hands with their shortcut portals, having one always nearby healing them with a card, and one of the most powerful escapes in the game when managing the exit point well. A lot of times you'll burst them down close to death, stopping them from decimating your entire formation, to then sit there and watch them for a second invulnerable, almost a taunt to your efforts, then zip to another part of the map far away to safety. Saying all of this, I don't necessarily think Dredge is too strong. You can dodge a lot of his spam, and better dredges will use their main fire more accurately, which is actually slightly fun to use, and the devs have buffed the Harpoon Mine build, but still, I do think Broadside and Scuttle need to go the way of Cauterize. In the bin. Next up, walking slowly whilst holding down the fire button infinitely into the third spot is Vivian. Yep, a champion can become the figure of people's ire by just being boring. I've also heard a lot of people say that so many of the console games, the Vivian is a go-to pick and is sort of always there. Plus, a lot of people seem to struggle when shooting a feat when the shield is up and often can seem like a mobile, invincible laser turret. So, first up, the boring aspect. Yes, her kit pretty much entirely rests on holding down the left click or the trigger if you are on console, plus her shield only helps to achieve more left clicking without the need to dive into cover or dodge like other more mobile damaged champions. Her mine is visibility too, it's just a drop and forget as you light targets up to fire endlessly upon. Plus, cards in her deck allow for her to get ammo back for hitting enemies, so almost infinitely firing. On top of all that monotonous firing, her ultimate ability just buffs her main fire rather than having an effect of its own. Plus, I think for a lot of people, it's annoying that this ultimate can almost be up forever from the first use as it persists between rounds as long as she doesn't die. On top of that, it makes her main fire area of effect, and now the Vivian can spam without aiming actually at the target, but sort of where the target is, or where the Vivian player thinks they are, and get damage. All in all, I think the Vivian could definitely use some tweaking in her kit to have more active abilities. The only fun talent at the moment is Booby Trap, which makes mines do damage and knock enemies up into the air, sometimes even knocking them off a cliff, which I think is the most fun element of the Vivian entirely. Personally, I would love to see these drones be more active, either making the booby trap part of a kit, removing the damage and adding bonus damage to hitting them in the air, or making them more like turrets that lock onto enemies with a laser and buff your damage whilst lowering her base damage on a weapon, to make her much more active and slightly more skill-based to use. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on Vivian in the comment section below. Maybe you actually really enjoy her. Slashing his way into everyone's list of champion horrors, especially this patch, End Times. Before a bit of a claw nerf next patch in Future's End, we have Koga. So Kogi Boy has been terrorizing healers, backlight damagers, and pretty much everyone else between, with high damage, extremely easy to hit, and low risk claws on their Dragon Fangs talent card. Alongside that is his lifesteal, which is countered by Cauterize and makes the vills slightly more uncomfortable as the Koga is squishy and slowly killing themselves, but the Claw Koga is extremely strong at the start of the game and can often lead to a crushing early 2 first rounds, not giving the enemy team a chance to build that counter or Cauterize 2, and by that point you've gone on to march on to the victory as the enemy team wallows in their poverty. So yes, Koga might be one of the only champions to be hated for robbing from the poor and giving to himself and his team. Sort of a crummy reverse Robin Hood. Another issue with the Koga builds is that with the Dragon Fangs no longer needing energy to slash, you can keep agility on pretty much all of the time, and there's a card that you can keep healing yourself with, and also one that allows you to jump into the air, which makes you hard to hit the champions you're next to as they try to reel around with their crosshair, whilst Koga floats like a crane, dropping fury-imbued slashes into their enemy's hate cortex. So hopefully that summed up the current Koga for you. Finally, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it is a dragon descending on your spawn room to charcoal your entire team so that you can't even contest a payload. Yep, you've guessed it, it's our very own last warder, Imani. This is one that I feel is more of an in-game community pick than mine, and something I've noticed pretty much every match with her. And in my opinion, her dragon has been nerfed a lot, and with some focus and a pinch of bulldozer, which is very cheap, you can laser down that dragon before it can even begin to make its destructive descent. However, pretty much every game I join that has an Imani, people will be complaining about her still nameless dragon. There are a few parts of maps where I agree that this can be insanely frustrating to play against with the ultimate. So some of the map's end areas are very hard to get out of if there is a dragon, like for example Ascension's Peak. The approach of the dragon is covered by a cliff, so you can't actually shoot at it, but as soon as they turn the corner, their fire is pretty much in reach of everyone in the spawn room wall and the final payload point below. Plus, it can really grind your gears if you see a dragon top play after dragon top play. There are also a few general points of her kit. The ice ball stun without an indicator on the ice ball. It's big and its AoE is big, but it also isn't very loud, and it's easy to get caught out in that and rooted for quite a long time, pretty much out of nowhere sometimes. Also, splitting ice can be very frustrating as it only takes one gormless teammate to be stood in the open, whilst you've taken cover in a corner on little health to be the end of you by just bouncing off of your silly teammate. Although, that is probably more fault of your allies. So yes, I think Imani has definitely been hated a lot these past few patches, and is very, very noticeable in game if you ever look into the chat, if you don't instantly mute everybody. There are also some notable mentions: Xin because they can go in and get kills and leave with Billow completely fine, Lian because of their lock-on abilities, and Kinessa because you either get someone who stands still and hits a shot every 5 minutes, or Bugsy who kills your entire team whilst teleporting around the map with no middle ground, either terrible or incredible. Again, let me know all of your top 5s and if you agree or disagree with any of mine. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for all my videos, and thank you all very much for watching. See you folks. Joshino.